After the conclusion of the Attack on Titan manga in April of this year, I've been meaning to speak about the series. The Attack on Titan story is very dear to my heart as I've been following it for over 8 years, but after having read its conclusion, I had some very mixed feelings, and I think this is what prompted me to begin this video series where I'm going to be analysing and breaking down each arc of Attack on Titan. Now, the intention with this series is to give a full comprehensive deep dive into each arc, trying not to miss any of the subtle details that Hajime Isayama has placed into his manga. As always, with these arc analysis videos, I'll be using the manga as my reference source for Attack on Titan. There are some instances where I will bring up the anime, especially in cases where there are differences between the anime and manga, but for the most part, similar to my Hunter x Hunter arc analysis videos, I'll be referring to the manga as much as I can. So let's begin this Attack on Titan arc analysis series with the first arc, the Fall of Shiganshina arc. Before we get into this week's analysis, I want to thank the sponsor of today's video, Raid Shadow Legends. Unless you've been living under a rock, it's been impossible to avoid this game. Raid is a combat-centered collection RPG that is available to download now for your mobile phones and PC. Let me tell you why I love this game. Raid has over 500 legends for you to collect. It has an incredible storyline, impressive graphics, intense boss battles, and the best part, it's totally free. Raid has a variety of incredible champions to choose from. One of the main factions of the game are the Bannerlords, who are basically medieval knights. They have a giant kingdom and they fight on the side of good. However, the land that was owned by the Bannerlords was taken away from them by non-humans. So finally, the time has come for the Bannerlords to rightfully reclaim what was once theirs. You can help by fighting as one of the champions from the Bannerlords faction. One of my favorite champions from the Bannerlords is Lord Champfort. I mean, look at his incredibly cool crimson and gold armor. Raid always has something new going on. For example, over the coming weeks, there is a jam-packed schedule of summer events and activities, one of which is a special fusion event to obtain new legendary champions. There is a lot planned over the summer, so what better time than now to get into Raid Shadow Legends. For the best head start, download Raid using my link in the description or scan my QR code on screen, and you'll get all of these bonuses, which include the champion epic hero Chonoru, as well as 200,000 silver, 1 XP boost, 1 energy refill, and 1 ancient shard, which you can use to summon a champion as soon as you get into the game. All of these bonuses will be waiting for you here as soon as you log into the game using my special link in the description. These rewards will only be available for the next 30 days, so what are you waiting for? Follow my special link in the description and I'll see you there. Now let's get back to the video. The concept of Titans was formed in the mind of Hajime Isayama when he had encountered a drunken man who had grabbed his collar in an internet cafe. Isayama was inspired by the man's inability to communicate. This lack of sense and reasoning that this drunken man had been conveying to Isayama had made him feel surprised that they were both the same species. After this encounter, Hajime Isayama had begun to believe that the most familiar and scary animal in the world is in fact the human, and he had conveyed this belief through the Titans that he had created within Attack on Titan. The Titans are menacing beings who, despite their human-like appearance, lack any humanity. Attack on Titan had first begun as a 65-page draft in 2006, and it is well known that Isayama had offered this story to Shueisha's Weekly Shonen Jump department, the same Weekly Shonen Jump that had been publishing Naruto, One Piece, and Bleach at the time. But upon reading the 65-page draft, the guys over at Shonen Jump had advised Isayama to modify his style of story so that it would be more suitable to cater for the audience that typically reads Weekly Shonen Jump. Isayama had refused to compromise, so instead he had taken his 65-page draft to Weekly Shonen Magazine, a competitor magazine to Weekly Shonen Jump that is owned by Kodansha. Isayama's draft was quickly accepted and it began serialization. Attack on Titan, instead of being published weekly, was published in a monthly magazine called Bisatsu Shonen Magazine in September of 2009, and as of 2021, Attack on Titan ran for 139 chapters, having sold over 100 million copies worldwide. It is highly regarded both within Japan and overseas. The popularity of Attack on Titan had skyrocketed in 2013 after the release of the first season of the anime. The anime was so impactful on the sales of the manga that after the first season had aired, Attack on Titan was consistently ranking within the top 3 best manga series in Japan per year. In 2014, its manga sales had even surpassed One Piece's sales in that period of time. It had even ended One Piece's 5-year reign as the highest selling series year on year. Attack on Titan had quickly become the highest selling monthly manga, as well as being the most successful manga to have ever been published by Kodansha. A lot of the success of Attack on Titan is attributed to the release of the first season of the anime, like I have mentioned. The anime had released in the spring of 2013, and this is the time when I had gotten into the series. What had gripped people into the world of Attack on Titan is its impactful start. Within Within the first few episodes, you are introduced to the characters and the world of Attack on Titan, but your expectations are completely subverted as this world begins to be destroyed by a very familiar threat. The enemy being Titans resemble humans, and they desire nothing more than to mindlessly devour people. Attack on Titan begins with its first arc titled The Fall of Shiganshina arc. It is a very short arc which spans from chapters 1 to 2 of the manga and episodes 1 to 2 of the anime. The Fall of Shiganshina arc serves to explain to us how Wall Maria was breached and how the disaster which befell upon humanity had begun within the Shiganshina district. So let's begin the analysis by breaking down the first 2 chapters of Attack on Titan. Chapter 1 begins with the phrase, "That day the human race had remembered the terror of being dominated by them and the shame of being held captive in a birdcage." We see Eren, Mikasa and Armin stare off into the horizon as the colossal titan towers over the outer wall. From this we then cut to the Survey Corps, who appear to be on an expedition beyond the walls. Riding on horses, they appear to be confronted by several targets, one being over 400 meters tall and another being 100 meters tall. They dismount their horses and charge towards these towering giants, using technology that they refer to as vertical maneuvering gear. They strike towards the tall target at the same time from all directions, desiring to teach the giant the true power of the human race. From this moment alone, you can draw parallels to the story of David and Goliath, humans up against not one but several giants. Through this brief scene, we are introduced to one of the military divisions that exist within Attack on Titan, and we are made familiar to the Wings of Freedom emblem that don the backs of the Survey Corps members. This group of soldiers ride their horses into the woods and use the trees as supports to attach their grappling hooks onto, as they swing through the air thanks to the propulsion from their pressurized gas canisters that thrust them forward. We then cut back to within the walls as we are introduced to Mikasa and Eren. Mikasa wakes up Eren as he describes that he has just had the longest dream. Upon waking, he strangely questions why Mikasa's hair has gotten so long. Eren cannot remember his dream, but it appears to have been impactful, because after standing up, Mikasa notices that Eren is crying, but he has no idea as to why. Upon first inspection, this scene is easily overlooked, but after having read the ending of Attack on Titan, there is a lot more clarity as to the dream that Eren was having here, why he had questioned Mikasa on the length of her hair, and lastly why he ended up crying. But as for now, these questions remain unanswered, as Eren demands that Mikasa doesn't tell anybody that she had just seen him crying. We are then introduced to Hannes, who is a member of another military division called the Garrison. Eren scolds Hannes and the other members of the Garrison for not taking their duties seriously and drinking on the job. He questions that if there was to be an emergency, would they be able to fight drunk? He questions what kind of emergency. Eren cuts to the chase and describes what humanity fears the most but speaks about the least. He asks if they were to break down the walls and invade the town, then what would the Garrison do? We learn that the walls haven't been breached in 100 years, and it's highly unlikely that such an emergency would occur. Hannes states that while he is on wall defense duty, he is able to see the titans that reside beyond the walls. After observing them, he believes that it is highly unlikely that these titans would even be able to put a dent into this huge fortress that is surrounding humanity. Eren manages to get Hannes to admit that the Garrison are not even prepared to fight against the titans. These members of the Garrison are aware that they are living in times of peace, and they frankly don't understand why members of the Survey Corps would want to go outside of the walls on expeditions. Hannes justifies his and the Garrison's lifestyle by saying that they don't have to go outside of the walls their entire lives, because they can eat, sleep and survive within the walls just fine. But Eren, who is just a child at this point, asks a very valid question, and it's a question that plays onto the themes of Attack on Titan, as he asks Hannes, isn't that way of life just like that of a caged animal? And it quickly becomes evident here that when Eren grows up, he wants to join the Survey Corps, and just when Mikasa tries to talk him out of his decision, the bells sound as the Survey Corps are returning from their expedition. Eren refers to them as heroes as they rush towards the gate to welcome their return. Crowds have gathered to watch the return of the Survey Corps, but it is not a pretty sight, as we quickly get to see the consequences of those who choose to leave the walls, as the majority of the Survey Corps members have returned fatally wounded. They are bloodied and bandaged with missing eyes and limbs, and Isayama depicts all of the Survey Corps members with a very stern and defeated expression on their face. It is as if they have returned from hell. Eren hears the spectators talk amongst themselves, as they question, are these the only members of the Survey Corps who made it back? Over 100 members of the Survey Corps had left for the expedition, but less than 20 had returned. During this scene, there's a moment where one of these soldiers' mothers pleads with one of the Survey Corps members, questioning him on the whereabouts of her son. They hand over to the woman something wrapped around in a cloth. When she uncovers it, it is revealed to be her son's arm. This is a moment that really stuck with me when I'd watched the anime back in 2013. The Survey Corps member tells the mother that this is all that they were able to bring back of her son. Soldiers are usually celebrated for their heroic efforts, but these citizens are mocking these soldiers. The mother questions if her son's sacrifice was worthwhile. Did it achieve anything? Did his death bring humanity one step closer to defeating the Titans? The speechless Survey Corps member tries to reassure her, but then resorts to telling her the truth. The death of her son amounted to nothing. Through this expedition that resulted in the death of 80% of the Survey Corps soldiers, they had accomplished nothing. We can infer that the soldier that the mother was speaking to was the commander of the Survey Corps. He states that it was because of his incompetence that his soldiers were killed. Through this failed expedition, they didn't get any closer to finding out what the Titans really are. Eren can hear the civilians talking amongst each other as they comment on the situation, saying that if only the Survey Corps members had stayed within the walls, then everybody would have been safe and sound. Eren is angered by one particular comment. One of the individuals states that their tax money is being used to fatten up the Titans, as the Survey Corps members are offering themselves up as a free meal to the Titans. After witnessing that, Mikasa rightfully asks Eren if his feelings about joining the Survey Corps have changed, but for now Eren ignores the question. That is until they return home and Mikasa brings up the topic in front of Eren's parents. Eren's mother is understandably opposed to the idea, as she reminds him of the countless number of people who have died because they had decided to venture outside of the walls. Eren's father questions him and asks him why is it that he wants to go beyond the walls. Eren reveals his motive here, as he states that he hates the idea of spending his whole life inside of caged walls, ignorant of the world that may lie beyond the walls. Eren wants to carry on the legacy of all of those people who had sacrificed themselves in order to learn more about the Titans so that they can be defeated and so that humanity is no longer caged within the walls. It appears that Eren's father has accepted his answer and tells him when he returns from his business trip, he's going to reveal to him the secrets that lie dormant within their basement. What's important to note about this instance is the key to the basement is wrapped around Grisha Yeager's neck. They bid farewell to Grisha as he leaves for work, while Eren's mother continues to question Eren's agency as a character. She states that she will never let him do something as foolish as joining the Survey Corps. Eren responds by saying that the only people who are foolish are those who are satisfied with living like caged birds. This idea of caged birds being unable to fly is prevalent within Attack on Titan. There is a lot of purposeful imagery of birds within the manga and the anime. Birds flying freely in the sky symbolize freedom. They are like an ideal that Eren aspires humanity to be like. Without any walls or borders holding them back, birds are able to fly freely wherever they choose to. And this is why Eren constantly describes the current state of humanity to be like that of caged birds. And in all honesty, after having read the ending of Attack on Titan, the constant references to birds makes a lot of sense. We can see that Eren is very stubborn and set in his ways. His mother is concerned for him, so it is for this reason that Eren's mother requests that Mikasa helps Eren whenever he gets into trouble. Because of his attitude, it is very easy for Eren to get into arguments and confrontations, and he throws himself into situations that don't involve him. And we get a perfect example of this in the next scene, where Armin is being picked on by a group of bullies. Eren rushes to his aid, but the bullies run away in fear as they spot Mikasa closely running behind Eren. And this is the first hint that we have that there is a lot more about Mikasa's character than meets the eye. Eren mistakenly assumes that they took one look at Eren and ran away, but Armin corrects him and states that it is more like they saw Mikasa and ran away. Later, when the three of them are sat by the river, Armin explains why the boys had attacked him. He had been speaking to them about how he believes that the human race should eventually go to the outside world, but they attacked him and called him crazy for having such thoughts. Eren is confused as to why there is so much negativity towards the idea of wanting to go outside. Armin helps to shed some light on the topic, as he states that humanity have lived peacefully within the walls for over 100 years now. They are afraid that if people started going in and out of the walls, then the Titans may be able to get in. The current monarchy that rules humanity within the walls has even stated that it is taboo to have interest in going to the outside world. Eren describes the king as a coward. We can see that Armin and Eren appear to be on the same page, but Mikasa disagrees. She wants to keep Eren safe and out of trouble, and the best way to do this is to keep Eren in his comfort zone. But Eren wants nothing more than to be placed in situations that take him out of his comfort zone. Armin has a shared interest with Eren to explore the outside world, but he doesn't entirely agree on Eren's idea of joining the Survey Corps, because frankly it is dangerous. Armin prophetically states that just because the walls haven't been breached in 100 years doesn't mean that there is no guarantee that they won't be broken through even today, for example. The moment that he says this, a large explosion erupts. They assume that it's an earthquake, but when they look in the direction of the wall, they see smoke coming from the outside, and a huge hand that has grasped the top of the wall. A giant titan has appeared and is towering over the wall. The titan kicks the outer wall of the Shiganshina district, making a large opening, allowing for titans to now enter into the peaceful world of the humans. The chapter ends with the same phrase that it started with, that it was on that day that the human race had remembered the terror of being dominated by the titans, and they had felt the shame of being held captive inside of a birdcage. In chapter 2, we learn a bit more history behind this world, as it is revealed that 107 years ago, the majority of the human race was devoured by the titans. The survivors were able to construct large walls that humanity resides within, walls that were so tall that titans could not get over them. For once, they were able to successfully secure a safe titan-free zone. That is until the arrival of the colossal titan, who towered over the walls and had kicked a hole right through the wall, ending humanity's 107 years of peace. Eren notes that one of the pieces that went flying out of the wall had landed near his home. With the titans now entering into the Shiganshina district, he wants to find his mother and leave with her. Eren and Mikasa rush off to their home, as Armin pauses and trembles in fear, as he realizes that the town that he has been living in is going to be overrun by titans. While rushing to his home, he can see several people that have been crushed by boulders. He reassures himself that there is no way that his house was hit, and that his mother has surely escaped. He turns the corner and learns that his home has indeed been hit by a boulder. His mother is trapped underneath the rubble. They try desperately to free her, but then notice that titans have entered into the town. His mother pleads with Eren and Mikasa to leave her behind, but Eren refuses to, even knowing that her legs are being crushed by rubble and she's unable to walk. Eren says that he's going to carry her. Even Mikasa refuses to listen to Eren's mother, as the two of them desperately try to free her. Their situation becomes increasingly hopeless, as we see that a titan has started to approach them. Hannes, who is a member of the garrison that we had seen in the first chapter, arrives to assist them. Eren's mother pleads with him not to fight the titan, and to take Eren and Mikasa and to just get away. Hannes ignores her requests and states that he is going to slay the titan and save all of them. While approaching the titan, Hannes thinks to himself that there are two options for him to take: to just simply rescue the kids, or to risk fighting the titan and to pay back the debt that he owes to Eren's family. He decides to pay back his debt, but once he approaches the titan and sees one of the most terrifying, menacing smiles that I have ever seen, he puts away his blades and takes the kids and retreats in fear. Leaving behind Eren's mother, she appears to be glad, as she yells out to Eren and Mikasa to survive. Attack on Titan exceeds in conveying to us how humans truly feel, especially when they are in hopeless situations and they are afraid. On the outside, Eren's mother appeared to be grateful that Eren and Mikasa have survived, but when she thinks back to her family life, she whispers to herself that she doesn't want them to go. She wants Hannes to return and to save her too. Eren's mother is picked up by the titan and he's forced to watch her being consumed by it, and it is in this moment that the beliefs that Eren had before have become solidified, and in my opinion, this is the most impactful start to any story that I've ever witnessed. What Eren had been stating throughout the entirety of the first chapter comes to fruition. The current state of humanity is that of caged birds. They can do nothing but be helplessly devoured by the titans. Any lingering sense of safety or comfort that Eren may have had while residing within the walls is destroyed in this one moment, in the moment where he witnesses the death of his mother. This scene fuels the intense anger that drives Eren's character throughout the story. He unleashes this anger first on Hannes, as he states that if it wasn't for him, then he would have been able to save his mother. But Hannes painfully reminds him that he wasn't strong enough to save her, while at the same time admits that he wasn't strong enough also, as he cries with Eren and admits that he didn't face off against the titan because he wasn't brave enough to. He had felt fear after seeing the titan's face. It's a constant reminder that these characters are humans and not some heroic fictional characters. The way that they are depicted is very close to reality, and it is something that I love about Attack on Titan. It is great to have characters who are very optimistic and hopeful, but Attack on Titan subverts this concept, but instead relies on portraying its characters through a very human and realistic perspective. If a giant titan was going to be stood in front of you, you're not going to behave like a typical shonen protagonist and run towards it. Any sane, logical human would run away in fear, and this is exactly what we see here. The only difference is there are consequences and stakes to doing so. Hannes will now have to live with the regret of not saving Eren's mother, while Eren has to admit that he was powerless to do anything to help his mother. This is what leads to Hannes apologizing to Eren. They end up leaving the Shiganshina district and head for Wall Maria, but just as they are leaving the town, another titan appears. The titan charges through the wall and breaks through Wall Maria, and as a result, a significant portion of human territory has fallen back into the hands of the titans. So instead of the small district of Shiganshina being invaded by the titans, the entire territory within Wall Maria has been invaded. It is in that instance that Eren realizes that he will never be able to go home again. He has so much regret now that he looks back on his life. Even up until the end, he would argue with his mother and be stubborn, but now that she is gone, he is never going to be able to see her again. He is left to wonder, why is this happening to humanity? Is it because they are weak and the only thing that they can do in response to this is to cry? In this moment he sets about his aim, as he declares that he is going to destroy every last Titan. The success of Attack on Titan I attribute to how these events were portrayed to us. Through Isayama's excellent writing, we were able to live through the traumatic events of Eren's childhood. We could relate to every human emotion, every fear, and every cry. He had created a group of characters and had placed them in a hopeless situation. The threat was unknown and incredibly menacing, and he had portrayed this masterfully through the depiction of the Titan that ended up devouring Eren's mother. The face that Hannes had witnessed was enough to shake his resolve. We can all feel bursts of motivation, and as onlookers, it is easy for us to comment on how we would react. But when you are placed in this situation and get to realize how powerless you truly are, that's where our true emotions and our true character is shown. Hannes almost boastfully claimed that he was going to be able to successfully save the three of them, but his dreams of being a hero were brought crashing down to reality. And it is directly after this where we witness one of the most disturbing scenes that I have ever seen. After witnessing his mother being devoured, Eren grows a deep sense of hatred for the Titans, and this is what leads to him forming the desire to destroy every last Titan. Eren is a very active protagonist who is forced to react to the differing circumstances that occur around him. The main reason which forces Eren into a reactionary role is the appearance of the Titans. Even prior to the arrival of the Titans, Eren had a desire to see the outside world. Even without the Titans breaching the wall, he had desired to still join the Survey Corps. He believes that humanity is lying to themselves. They are in a false sense of security. All it will take to destroy their comfort is the breach of a single wall. Eren's thoughts are ultimately actualized and proven to be true. Eren is stubborn, loud, and outspoken, and he is determined when it comes to his ideals. But the events that unfold within the second chapter and witnessing the death of his mother shake his character to its very core. Even when Hannes had arrived to assist Eren and Mikasa, there was a glimmer of hope. But like I stated earlier, Isayama had masterfully extinguished this hope, as Hannes was made to realize how powerless he is and how hopeless the situation is. He was fearful for his own life, and it is for this reason that he had abandoned Eren's mother and had left with Eren and Mikasa. When this occurs, Eren is a child who has no control over his own life. He had wanted to stay and help his mother, but against his will he was taken away from her. Against every fiber of his body, he was made to witness the death of his mother. In this scene, it makes us, the audience, and Eren as a character realize that he is not strong enough. In order to fight against the Titans, and to actualize his desire to destroy all of them, he needs to gain strength now. Unlike the other members of humanity, he is not going to allow himself to be a victim of the Titans. Instead, he has decided to fight back against them. Even while living in times of peace, he had opposed the threat of the Titans that were preventing humanity from exploring the outside world. These foundational desires are solidified through the events that occur within the first and second chapter of Attack on Titan. This results in Eren's goal of destroying every single Titan feeling a lot more realistic and being far from contrived. Isayama had perfectly solidified the threat of the Titans and how fearsome they are. Firstly, through how they are dealt with the Survey Corps who had returned from the expedition, having wiped out 80% of their soldiers. And secondly, through how they had breached the walls and had been devouring people without any care. Isayama had stated that the design and the mindless nature of the Titans was created in our image, and I certainly believe that this is what adds to the threat of the Titans. It is the mysteriousness of their origins and the reasoning behind their actions. The answers to these questions are hinted to us when Eren's father had told him about the secrets that lie within the basement. But for now, this is all that we actually get to learn about the Titans through this impactful introduction into the world of Attack on Titan. Now, I want to hand over the discussion to all of you. What were your first experiences with Attack on Titan? And what did you think about the way that Isayama had introduced you into the world of Attack on Titan? I would love to hear about your thoughts and opinions, and I hope that you will continue to follow me as I go through every arc of Attack on Titan, with the next video aiming to cover the Humanity's Comeback arc, which focuses on the training of the 104th Training Corps. So I look forward to seeing all of you in the next video. If you enjoyed this video and would like to see more like it, then please consider supporting my channel on Patreon. I have multiple tiers with rewards including access to an exclusive Discord server, video scripts, as well as being the first to know about unreleased upcoming videos. Thank you for your time, and whatever you choose to contribute I will appreciate, and it will mean a lot to me.